Does that make sense?
So that brings us to porn and romance novels.
Oh God, shouldn't that be like a separate thing? Because I feel like that's like could go.
Is that cheating? Is pornography cheating?
Porn, yes.
Okay.
Like you are literally seeing people naked and like involved in intimate acts. I feel like that would be cheating. Well, like not like full blown cheating, but again,
it's the slippery
not
slope.
Invested fully.
It's a slippery slope. It's not a thing that
if you put that effort into being with your partner, don't you think your sex life would improve?
Right, of course.
That's okay. So
I think there's a lot of guys that are like 95% of guys are addicted to porn. So we're gonna get a lot of angry people right now. But I would say that if you're a guy, if you're having a porn problem and you're in a relationship with a woman and you're not trying to address it, if you're just like, oh, it's okay.
Right.
If you're not working on it, because an addiction is a hard thing to break. It is true. Then that's the problem. Now you're more in the cheating zone, right? Whereas, because it's the same thing.
I have a question.
Okay, yeah.
From like, I want to know a guy's perspective. Okay. If a woman was watching porn, would a man care?
It's interesting. So it's the same thing as when guys ask me, they're like, oh yeah, it'd be cool if my girl was into girls, right? It's like if she had a lesbian encounter. And I'm like, yeah, that seems really cool. Except that you would have to then really question the intimacy level of your relationship. Or so, it's like, it seems like, okay. So it's almost in the same way. Like a guy might be like, oh yeah, she's watching porn. That's great. Just because of the sexual type of thing that. So I think that it comes down to that same exact psychological study, right? Like a guy would be less offended by a woman watching porn. I guess it might depend on what kind that she was watching or if she was incorporating it into their relationship
thing.
Right. I think that
like it's still sex, but it's not her having sex with someone else. So wouldn't a man be a little insecure about that? Like, I'm not good enough for her. She's watching like this porn. Like, are you specifically saying like just lesbian porn? Because like, what if she was watching heterosexual porn and like she doesn't really seem interested in having sex with you, but she watches her porn.
And that's where then it starts to become for a guy. It's like if she wasn't interested in having sex with you and she was watching porn, then you would start to be like, okay. I think most guys wouldn't care as much if she's watching porn and then having sex. But the real equivalent though, because men are visual. Pornography is a visual medium. Mm-hmm. What women do is they read smut novels. Okay. Harlequin romance novels, 50 Shades of Grey type of stuff, right? And that is the equivalent of women watching porn because that is the same. It's because a woman is more sexually turned on. Her sexual apparatus works in the mind more so than the visual, right? Whereas a man's is more wired through the visual. And so, again, if a woman reads some novels, do I think that is a bad thing? No, but if she's obsessed with reading romance novels and obsessed with the idea, the dirty ones and the love idea of like trying to get the romance that she's missing from the relationship from the novel, then it becomes a substitute. Then it starts to become along the lines of cheating. It really does start to become that because where is your because really the heart of the
they would both be. Porn for men because they're visual and books for women because it's like she's living in this fantasy land, which I think that women want men to act the way they do in romance novels. And a lot of men don't. And I'm not like justifying this. Like I'm not justifying like being obsessed with smut novels because you're not getting it in real life. Because again, I think you should leave your partner and go find somebody that will give you the romance and the intimacy that you're reading in these books because then you don't care. Like, I will occasionally read a book that's popular and it might have instances like that, but I'm not searching for that.
It's the equivalent of, look, you watch a rated R movie, we watch a movie together. There's some nudity, there's a sex scene. There's nudity, there's a sex scene. It's like that that's not like the same thing as actively seeking it out, right? So if you read a romance novel or whatever, you're reading the story. But if you're actively seeking out, I'm missing romance in my life, I'm reading romance novels, I'm reading smut novels because I'm using this as a substitute for my actual sex life, then it starts to become, because at the heart of the idea of cheating is this idea that you are not giving your 100% self to the person that you're in a committed relationship with, whether that be your physical your emotions, your physical body, your sexuality, those
your needs
things
aren't being met, and instead of like having a conversation to try to fix those, you're turning to an easy fix, which actually like gets you further away from the thing that you want. So let's say that like the guy is not getting as much sex as he wants, so he starts watching porn.
Right.
And like the woman's not getting romanced and like, made to feel like those romance novels make women feel, so she keeps reading the books. And so it's like, instead of like talking about it and trying to both like meet each other's needs, now you're just doing it on your own and you're getting further and further away. And if you do have a conversation and like it just doesn't align, then you need to leave. Like you can have that, you can find it. I feel like people like stay in situations a lot of the time when they shouldn't. And I understand, because it is hard to date and it's hard to put yourself out there.
Right.
But people will like stay in a place that they don't belong so that they don't have to fight or like figure out the discomfort of dating again.
Yeah, the changes.
And so it's like you end up, I feel like, in a worse situation by being somewhere you don't belong.
Right.
Than just having to bite the bullet, have a hard conversation, and go put yourself out there and potentially meet the person that gives you all the things that you want. Because you think it's not out there, or like people have told you like, oh, you're like, you have too high standards, you're too picky, which I heard all the time. And I'm so glad I didn't listen to any of those people, because now I have even better than I could have ever imagined. And like I said, like people might not believe me, but I don't have any of these things that I used to have, because you fulfill all the needs that I have.
Better than perfect, we stand.